Yes, that's such a Cathy thing.
I know. As it was coming out of my mouth, I'm like, I really shouldn't say that.
Anyway, so let's Hello and welcome to episode 302, the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast, a proud member of the Marketing Podcast Network. I hope you're well and staying as sane as you feel you need to be. I'm your host, Ian Truscott. I'm not a rockstar, but I'm a CMO, and on this podcast, I chat with a band of marketing chums who share their marketing street knowledge, which I hope will bring out the rockstar marketer in you. This week, I'm joined by Cathy McKnight, Chief Problem Solver at 7Bear. In her last appearance on the show this year, we reflect on 2025 in the world of content, which of course was dominated by AI, and what Cathy hopes for in 2026 if some of this froth dies down. But first, we need to pay the bar tab. I'll be back in a moment.
We'll be right back after this word.
We'll be right back
After this word.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just
speaking into the void?
But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome, Cathy, to Rockstar CMO FM. How are you doing?
I am well, Ian. Thank you.
No, it's jolly nice to have you again so soon as well. I think it's only been a few weeks since you were on. But we wanted to do a show before we close up for the holidays and for the new year.
Indeed, yeah. This is
thank you very much.
This is my last recording for the year.
Wow, nice. Yeah,
all the way around.
There we go. It's not. I don't think it's going to be mine. I think I might do something next week, but it'll be like a year roundup probably on my own, just for the listeners.
Got it.
And also I got Robert on Friday as well. And speaking of Robert, your name came up. We were chatting, and apparently you have had a lot of snow.
Yes.
telling me.
It is going to be a white Christmas this year. I can't see.
Nice.
I'm hoping it doesn't all go away. We've probably got about, 8 inches on the ground, and that's been melt snow. So it's it's lovely. It certainly makes it feel more festive. So I'm all for this.
Lovely. And I think last time you were on, you were saying you were going to put your lights up. So have you got your lights up and everything?
Lights are up. Gutters were cleaned at the same time. House is adorned. Christmas tree is up. So the house smells very festive with the fir tree on the still emanating that Christmassy smell. Both my kids are home, and and my shopping is done. I just have to do my wrapping, and all good.
Nice. Very nice. That sounds perfect. Anyway, that would be lovely. Let's just chat about the festive season and all the lovely things you do. And also, I think what a complete finish you are. You don't just put the lights up; you clear the gutters as well. That's such a Cathy thing.
I know. As it was coming out of my mouth, I'm like, I really shouldn't say that.
Anyway, so let's reflect on the year that we've just had in 2025, and obviously this is the Cathy on content section. So let's see what you've got from the content world. So now then, there's only one topic really that's come up a lot, particularly on this show, and that is AI. But it would be good to know if you've seen any other trends in the world of content management and content operations that we should share.
Yeah, I think AI has dominated, but not in the way that it did when it burst onto the scene. What was it, 2022? More so this year, it's the evolution of it. So yes, people are still struggling. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to use it, etc. But I think it finally started to bring a focus on how it works from a content infrastructure way. So content teams and organizations are looking at the basics with the help of AI and actually starting to make some headway. So it's not just about, hey, ChatGPT or whatever you call it, write me a blog post on
Yeah.
800-word blog post on insert topic here, right? It's starting to query. It's about, hey, so I want to write a blog post for this audience, for this journey stage, based on our profile and our background knowledge, because we've trained our LLM as an organization.
Mm-hmm.
What would be some good ideas,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
or having them, letting it do the review for it, or setting up a metadata structure. It's really evolved to the next level,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I thought we might be further along by now, but I'll take progress in any way, shape, or form it comes.
All right, so let's dwell on the content creation bit, and we'll move on to the further along bit just in a second. What I'm sensing is the best practice now is, because what I think is interesting about what you just said is, here is our ICP, here's the buyer within that ICP, here are the goals that we have, here is our perspective and point of view on that. Now go give me some ideas. And so I'm getting a sense that there needs to be a lot of human in that beginning part of the when you're working with your LLM or with ChatGPT, whichever tool you choose, right? You still need to do all that hard work and that discovery, don't you?
Yeah. So data hygiene has always been an issue for organizations well before AI landed in our laps. It's been something that most organizations have not tended to well. They've certainly collected oceans, let alone lakes worth of data, but they collected it because they could and with no clear intent, and it's not organized. So there's a little bit here, a little bit there. Different teams take proprietary nature over it, even though it belongs to the entire organization. So I think that's one of the challenges a lot of organizations are facing in terms of leveraging that data. But even in small subsets, it's super helpful. And I think too, it's evolving from, again, like we talked about, just that writing to companies quickly went to, oh my God, AI is great. I can replace half my team because they're just going to use AI to generate things.
Yeah.
And they did. Some companies did. They got rid of a lot of people thinking AI is going to fill. Quickly, hopefully, some of them to realize that that's not the case, that AI is an enabler and that what it allows is the human to be the human and to bring the human things, to create original, because anything coming out of AI is iterative. To focus on strategy, because AI cannot do strategy. And to take that, something that's, AI, I'm not saying AI can't produce good things, because it can when it's prompted right and fed the right things, but it takes a human to take it from good to that differentiation, right? To make it so that it's applying, humans are applying their knowledge, their experience, and that gut feel. That's what takes something from being a good piece of content and audiences go, yeah, that's good, to an engaging experience that makes the difference for that brand.
Yeah. And I think there's one or two different points I'd like to pull on there. One of them is something, and I mentioned Robert again, is me and Robert have discussed, is he shared with me that it's actually made his process longer because it opens up the amount of research you could do, which I thought was really interesting. And I was doing something the other day and I thought, he's absolutely right. This is taking me forever. And the reason why it's taking me forever is because you need to have the original idea, exactly to your point, right? But then you start to work with the LLM and start to explore other things, and then you open up new pieces of research and new ideas, stuff. And then you're like, wow, this is a much chunkier piece of research, a much chunkier thing I'm writing than I originally intended. So I think it has the reverse effect in that actually you can potentially create better content, but it takes longer, as better content should, I guess.
Which is okay, because if you're using AI for all of the things that it's really good at, the data crunching, the segmentation, the validation, all of those elements, applying things, creating things like the metadata, here's the suggested metadata based on your taxonomy structure and metadata structure to apply your keywords, how to optimize. It's taking those things away. So it may be taking longer, but it's infinitely so much better because it's got all the bits and pieces. And it may be taking you longer to actually write the piece, But what I'm finding, because I agree, it does take longer to do things, but the net time from start to finish isn't significantly longer because now you've got all of the bits and pieces that maybe you didn't have before because you were like, okay, I'm done. I don't have time for that, so I'm not going to do it. But now you do.
Yeah. I also think, and I think you and I have discussed this, I think that we're figuring out what the task is, what the work to be done is, which part of it we want to be involved in and we don't want to be involved in. Because as I think we've discussed, writing is a journey, a learning journey in itself, right? And if you just abstract yourself out of that journey and let the AI do it, you'll end up with a piece of content, but the task at hand is to learn about something, isn't it? And I just wrote about this also on my Tuesday 2 cents. Is I actually got handed, I got handed sort of like a set of buyer personas and that had clearly been heavily influenced or written by ChatGPT, particularly in the time it took the person to turn it around. And I thought to myself, and the amount of M dashes in it, and it was fine. But what I was thinking was, what I enjoy doing when I'm working with a client is going through that process of learning, because I think everybody in the room then gets this education, gets this feel about who this ICP is, who these buyers are, what they're thinking, what they're caring about, because they thought of it. And then people own the ideas themselves and own these personas themselves, right? Is that similar to what you're seeing with your clients, that you encourage them to, yes, you could shortcut this, but it's better if you took the long road on this one?
Yes, definitely. There's I mean, like all things, there's a time and place for everything, right? And when to lean into it, when to not. And it's still, I'm definitely seeing more of the penny dropping for like, oh, okay, I get it now. Because you try and explain that to someone and they don't necessarily understand, whether it's because I'm not explaining it properly or contextually or because they haven't got there yet. But I think once you start using an LLM environment, an AI environment in that way where it's not do the job for me, but help me do my job. And that's two completely different ways of looking at it. That's when you see the difference. That's when they go, oh, okay, yes, now I get it. Now, there's going to be some, it's the path of least resistance, right? They're never going to come around to do it the way we do it, the way we think it should be done. And good on them. That's their call. We'll see where they end up in terms of career, because I still think that those who leverage the strength and the power of artificial intelligence in its many facets to complement and augment what they're good at, they're the ones who are going to shine.
That's such a great, that is a really good thread to pull on, because before all of this AI stuff and the LLMs and all that stuff, I've worked with CMOs that outsource their brain basically to their agency, to being ghost written. So I imagine there will be people that will replace that relationship with ChatGPT, right?
Definitely.
But they have perfectly good careers. So I'm a little bit, I'd love that to be true. But I think that there are some people around who have had very good careers, but not based on their marketing talent, but based on being able to put this
100%.
infrastructure around them, right?
But they're smart enough to know who to go to,
True.
right? They're smart enough to know that, you know what? Why would I try and do this from scratch and figure it out from scratch when I can go and get the jump start from someone who's been there, done that, and then take it forward, right? I think that's just smart.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, no, I knew I shouldn't have pulled on this. That's smart. It's when you know that they are not smart, right? They're
Yes. Well, you know what? Failing upwards has been around since the dawn of time, and that will continue. So, I think for the safety of both our jobs, we should move on to the next topic.
Absolutely. Well, this was naturally leading to, really, when we talk about AI, is we can't help but talk about personalization. And you and I know that there has been I put in the notes 20-year promise, but I think it's more like 25-year promise of personalization, right? And what I was wondering, as we look at the way that AI is applied to content marketing management and operations, is it seems to be the hard work of content metadata, taxonomies, all that seemed to be actually the challenge of personalization. It wasn't what we knew about our customers, because we know everything about our customers. We really, really focused on that as digital marketers. What we've never really done is the hard work of understanding our content, because doing metadata and taxonomies to a lot of digital marketers is just boring. Sorry, Cathy. So, and
It's okay.
what I was wondering is, now with the LLMs, do we now get that messy middly bit for free with these tools? I mean, is this somewhere where you're seeing some evolution in exploration?
I am. So I think it's interesting in that there's been a lot more chatter about things like taxonomy and metadata, after they've gone and looked up what the difference is between the two, because often, I've heard it many times used interchangeably, not the same thing, but that's okay. Not everybody's a geek like me on stuff like this, so it's all good. And they're understanding the impact of that. So we're able to start doing personalization in a non-creepy, not I know what you had for breakfast kind of way, but more so I understand that you've, in your last 10 visits, here's the top 3 common themes. So how about we start there, right? And start servicing up content from that perspective. Now, the challenge there is that very few organizations are set up such that they have a content model that enables that level of personalization. But I think the big thing is one, they're thinking about content modeling more now, which is a good thing. And they're also appreciating the fact that separating content creation and content production, which is something that Robert and I have been advocating for ever about, so that the content is componentized so that you can do some personalization. So it's not that everybody sees, 95% of the same thing. You can actually interchange some things because it's not baked into one thing. One solid component. It's or one big thing. It's a bunch of different pieces. So it's really impacted so many facets of not only the content life cycle process, but also how you think about content.
Yeah, and one of the things I've been thinking about around this stuff is that I think large organizations with a big core, what's the right word? A big corpus of content. The sorts of big websites have a lot of information on them. Our users, our visitors and our customers and our buyers are now being taught by ChatGPT how to talk to computers. Like 20 years ago, Google invented, and then Amazon invented the way we expected the CX to work. Do you think and this will get back to your point about how we're going to have to get our content organized, because aren't folks going to start expecting more of a conversational search experience or finder experience? So they're going to look for a box on your website which says, I need help with this.
Yes.
And the conversation starts, rather than having to navigate through all your shit or use some crazy, old school search thing. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do. I think, there's different schools of thoughts on AI versus agentic AI. They are absolutely different things when you're actually leveraging agentic AI. You're building the people and enabling it to act as a role for the organization with permissions and limitations and process and workflow, such that if somebody, asks that trigger, oh, this is a no-fly zone, that it gets punted to a human. And it actually does get punted to a human. But I think one of the things that's slowing or stopping that is, how many people do you know who willingly engage with a chatbot? Because it's so useless, right?
Yeah.
They're so useless. So there's going to be there's an education that has to happen to our consumers, our audiences.
I love a good chatbot because I don't like phoning people. And so...
who doesn't love a good chatbot? But how many good chatbots have you come
I agree with you, though. I agree with you. And how many people, will tell you the shortcut for get me out of this talk to a human and,
Yeah.
all in caps or whatever it is you need to do. You're right. But what I was also thinking about was more like the whole kind of not customer experience, what's the right word? The whole search experience of the website, it being more ChatGPT. But you're right. I mean, if we go far enough in that direction, it is just a chatbot. So you're right. And it becomes agentic and all that kind of good stuff. But I was just wondering if people were looking for more of an experience that was like ChatGPT as they look for services or content on your website.
Well, I mean,
the search box needs to change.
Well, similar to how search, Google lost traction to the socials from a search perspective, right? Like people started searching rather than Google, they'd go to Facebook and they'd go to, LinkedIn or whatever their favorite was at the time.
Yeah.
Because they wanted not the, sorry, marketers, the bullshit, everything is shiny from marketing sites, but rather people's experience or points of view and that sense of, even though you don't know this person at all, you're going to take their word over the brand's word kind of thing, right? So now ChatGPT and the like, Perplexity and whatnot are becoming those go-to for those who are comfortable with it as their search elements. And so again, that's something else the organizations have to think about is how are they changing their content creation, both how it's written, how it's structured, etc., so that the LLMs look at it and go, that's good. We're going to prioritize that, right?
Yeah.
This whole, we're getting rid of the .com, I think is crap. I don't believe that at all, because that becomes the company's primary source of truth to feed the LLM.
Yeah.
But we talked about, websites, brand sites going to a Google-like structure, right? Where it was just, something really pretty with a big search. How long did that last? Like a nanosecond.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's different, right? It's just not, if people may start with Google or the like, but once they get into a site, they may search for something, but they want to do that's the today's version of going to the store and touching things, right? Is actually seeing what else is there.
No, that's interesting. So that's kind of like, so we covered the personalization, the agentic AI thing. So we're knocking out all the trends here. Now, the next one that I wanted to ask you about was, so as a natural evolution of this is I am now seeing a number of startup CMSs, and I'm in the 25 years I've been in this industry, I'm always surprised by how many new CMSs I find.
I know, isn't it amazing? You'd think at some point it would stop.
Yeah, I mean, who's investing in these folks? But I think there is something, I don't know, there's something fresh going on, and that's because of AI. So I've seen a number of sort of CMS solutions that are kind of built on like a graph database or semantic database, and they boast that they can then be personalization out of the box because the content's structured correctly, and therefore they can then deliver a one-to-one kind of brand message. What's your and then I got a bit carried away and thought, hey, this could be one of those moments like we had the grand dams of CMS like Vignette and Red Dot and Open Text and
oh my God, Ian, how old are you?
Interwoven and all. We had all of them, didn't we, at one point?
For all you kids listening, go and search those words and then those companies and find out where they live now.
But then, a little history lesson. And then we had, but then the guys that the grand dams now were the disruptors back then, people like Sitecore and Day, who are now Adobe, because they solved a specific problem, which is web content management, and everybody had thought that was dead, which it wasn't. And they're all now dead, and Sitecore and Adobe, and that rule the world. I was wondering if this was a moment of inflection, because I was also wondering whether the legacy CMS is not built for this kind of AI kind of personalized, kind of thing. So I wondered whether this was a moment for them to move. So is the legacy CMS industry's AI just sort of lipstick on the pig of the old stuff? Or and these new guys are going to come in and really disrupt the industry? Or do you, maybe this is too big a topic, but what's your view on if there is a coherent thought coming out of my head at the moment?
So I think I know where you're going. So I think similar to how the shift or it's akin, maybe not similar, but, parallel to the shift from on-prem to cloud, right? And managed services and SaaS and PaaS and those kind of things. And there were some who were quick to pull the trigger and get on that. There was others, Sitecore, that were not. And I think similarly here we see some of the, as you call them, grand dams or the big boys or whatever, leaning in and understanding the importance of artificial intelligence, keeping in mind, like, let's remind our audience that AI has been around for 10, 15 years, right? This is not new. This is not new. This is a new way of using it, and there's new capabilities, and it's now, the new is the accessibility of it, but it's been around forever in terms of technology, in technology years. And so companies like, I think Adobe is doing a really great job of looking at what's possible and how it can help marketers and creators from that perspective. So I think they're doing a really good job. I think others have been pushed, and not to say that they haven't been put into a defensive mode, because they needed to move faster than they were. I mean, they knew it was coming, but when it hit, nobody was ready. None of the old school CMSs or tech was ready. This is very reactionary. This is very from an offensive to a defensive position. But, Optimizely, Acquia, Sitecore, they're busting their butt to try and keep up. So I do think, and because of the position of the CMS having changed so drastically from 15 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, where it was the epicenter, it is no longer the epicenter. Right? You can hit the glass from just about any kind of technology. So do you really need a big ass CMS? No. You don't.
That's got to be a topic for the new year that we should cover, because I'm feeling that myself, right? Because the same with you, because if you look at, back in the day when we were talking about why you would need a CMS, you'd need a CMS because you were doing the multi-channel, multi-language, multi-product and all that stuff. Now, if you've got HubSpot, you've got the ability, or name another product, but I'm just particularly familiar with HubSpot, is you've got the ability to do that just within HubSpot. I imagine there is a whole bunch of CMS market that has just disappeared because people are doing it in the solutions they already have, like HubSpot. Or I imagine that now. And so I think you're right. But that's a much bigger topic. But
I agree.
But what do you think of this? And the other thing is, being first doesn't really matter. What was the CMS solution that Robert was the CMO of, who were cloud native from the beginning back in the day? And you think that they would have crushed it, and the world went to cloud, and they didn't. So I'm not blaming Robert in any way. I love him. But the irony, you just don't know when the thing you're talking about is going to catch the mainstream, right? If you think about that bell curve, right? And you've got to be correctly placed for that. So I guess that's what all of these vendors are now jockeying for, isn't it? They know they don't need to be first. They just need to catch the mainstream at the right time. But have you seen
they also have to service, it's not even about, if you're talking about capturing the mainstream in order to get new brands, like to add to their NASCAR slide, sure, but it's also about keeping their existing brands, because so many organizations are actually evaluating their content stack, or their tech stack rather, when it comes to not just content, but so many other things, their MarTech stack, and looking at, okay, we have 4 CMSs.
Yeah.
What do we get rid of? Because do we really need them all? And I'm telling you, when you look at, if you've got an Adobe or a Sitecore, one of the really big heavy lifts, expensive tools, and you have other ones that are more nimble and agile, less expensive, and which one are you going to like? Which is the biggest bang? And I'm not advocating for getting rid of something just because of cost. That's the probably one of the last reasons you should get rid of a technology. You've got to look at who's using it, why they're using it, how frequently, what happens if you get rid of it, what's the how do you get off of it? Like, what's the lift to do that? There's many things to consider before you look at cost.
True, but in these uncertain times, and every CMO is under so much pressure. We read about, right? And if it's going to be people versus your shiny, big, wonderful solution, which one are you going to choose? I mean, it's tough out there, isn't it? So I imagine that cost is going to play a role, and so that's going to be the Achilles heel of these solutions because they're just not going to be able to be agile enough to do that.
Correct.
So you think that some of these little AI native CMSs might sort of start nibbling away at some of these big guys, or
that, or they'll get acquired.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh yeah, nice one. All right, so that's us covering a little bit of what we talked about in 2025, and of course, ultimately, it ended up being a conversation about AI. What predictions do you have for 2026, and is it going to be more AI?
So predictions, hopes, kind of a blend. I am hoping because I'm seeing more chatter about it. I get a lot of questions about it, is that, and I just wrote a Bare Essentials post on it. Or at least part of it is that teams see the value of process. That in order to leverage all of the great things we just talked about in terms of AI and how it can help and best ways to use it, that you need a process. You need a consistent way of approaching content so that you can set up your technology to support and enable, whether it's AI or otherwise, right? So looking to move from that individual operations across the organization to an orchestrated approach to content is a hope. I see a trend, and I'm thinking it's going to be bigger next year. I think measurement for insight rather than quantity. So forget about counting the number of pieces and that you post and page views, etc. But what's happening? What's the engagement? Because you've componentized your content, which ones are resonating with your audiences, and letting that feed into the development process. I think those are two of my big, woohoo, let's go hopes.
Yeah. What the image in my mind was like all the froth of AI kind of ebbing away, and then you see in the tea leaves or the coffee grounds or whatever's at the bottom of the cup that, oh fuck, yeah, we've got to do some content operations here. This is the real thing that's going on. This is what's giving them. This is the essence of this thing. It isn't all this frothy AI. The fact that we can turn around a blog post in 12 seconds. That's going to be that's going to be the thing next year. It's going to be, we got to do something with this properly.
Yeah, I think, cool. And I think the last thing, well, maybe not last thing, but I think LLM ready content is going to be a competitive differentiator.
Yeah.
So SEO isn't going anywhere. You still have to account for search, but getting ready for LLM as one of the primary search functions, and having your content structured, semantically rich, is really important. So we'll see.
Well, I think original research and solving people's problems in your content is probably going to be the editorial approach we need to take. It's no longer going to be here are the 5 big things of thing, right? It's going to have to be something a bit more meaty for an LLM to pick on, because it's already got the 5 top things of whatever, right? So
yeah.
Cool. All right, so let's move on to Seventh Bear and what you've been working on. So you mentioned just briefly there your series called Bare Essentials, and the latest one, Content Intake Isn't Bureaucracy, it's the cheapest form of sanity. Always.
Yeah, so that came out of actually some work with a client, in that we had been working together for a while, and I, as everybody who listens to this, and you are well aware, as I very much espouse to, one of the best things you can do from a content process perspective is a single intake process, right? So having a simple intake form in whatever way it comes in, that everyone, regardless of what it is, content comes through for the content team, so that you're capturing the 101 that you need, right? So who's the audience? What's the purpose of the content? How is success going to be measured? and how does it align and support the organization's objectives and whatnot. So we're not talking about what asset do you want or anything like that, but what are the core. So having that come in from a central place so that there is one, you're forcing the forethought to those asking for the content, but also so you can coordinate it, right? So that when you have 14 people asking for the same thing, you can actually plan it. And, if it's a new topic, it's like, oh, well, why is this all of a sudden a big thing? It just controls the onslaught and the tidal wave and all of those words of overwhelming, so that it can be managed. Because when you don't know where it's coming from, why it's coming, when it's coming, how do you ever get your hands around it?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan. I mean, I've implemented that when I've had head of content or head of content strategy roles as well, an intake form. And I think the other thing that it does, it forces the person who's making the request to actually have a little think as well, right? And so, because me, I'm all for, does this create awareness, revenue, or trust, right? I've got that rule, that art thing that I keep banging on about. And so I think you've got to have that. If you've got that structure within your content team that's aligned with the goals of the business, that's defendable, then you can add that into your intake form and say, well, okay, so how's this going to solve one of our big problems? We've all agreed these big problems, right? Yes, we've all agreed these are the goals. So how does it solve those goals? What do you think? Yeah. And you can put that into the intake form, can't you? As well as who's it aimed at. And I love your one there that you just mentioned as well, is what does success look like? How are we going to measure the success of this? Because it gets the other person thinking, actually.
Yeah. Well, and as, people kind of take like, oh crap, what do I, because that's where, again, we get into the quantity, right? Well, I'm doing it because I was told I needed to do 5 pieces, of X. And this is my 4th piece. And it's like, no. Like, there's got to be a better reason on why. So it goes back to, again, getting the right metrics and looking at the right elements or the better, more informative elements of doing things.
Oh, there's no worse way of creating crap content than to on a cadence or a rota just because you have to. I mean, I guess as somebody who regularly posts on a Tuesday, I could be guilty of it. But you keep your cadences, but you need to every now and again go, well, we've just got nothing this week, so therefore let's not do it. All right, well, that's fabulous. Thank you very much, Cathy. And I'll point people to that post on Seventh Bear website, seventhbear.com.
Love it. Thank you.
And I shall include that in the show notes, which is a good place to capture your latest thinking, isn't it? seventhbear.com.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And when people spin the dial on the interwebs, where else can they find you, Cathy?
LinkedIn, Cathy with a C, McKnight. I think I don't know if I'm the only one or not, but I've got that handle. So that's me. And for fun stuff, I'm on Instagram, same thing. So
Yeah, way to keep up with your trips, which is fantastic. All right. And so it remains for me to wish you a very happy holidays there in the snow, which sounds absolutely beautiful. White Christmas. Who doesn't love one of those? And I'll chat to you in the new year.
Super. All right. Thanks, Ian.
Look forward to it. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. See you in 2026.
You will indeed.
Cheers. Thanks, Cathy. Thank you, Cathy. We couldn't ignore the AI elephant in the room there. And I think I'm hearing a big call from everyone for a focus back on the fundamentals in 2026 and back to what we need to get done and not the tech and the tools. But let's see if Cathy's right there. So that's a wrap on episode 302 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast. Thank you for dropping a dime into your podcasting jukebox, selecting our track and jiving along with us. I've been your host, Ian Truscott, and you can find links to me, Cathy, our blog, newsletter, and all of our previous episodes in the show notes at rockstarcmo.com. Coming up for us here on Rockstar CMO, Robert is back in our virtual bar on Saturday, and then it's Christmas week. I might drop something into the feed during that week just to say hello, and I hope you are all ready for Christmas and you have a little bit of time to spare for us here on Rockstar CMO FM.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.